Hi, it's Anna Mason, and in this watercolour mini class I'm going to show you how to paint the water droplets sitting on top of this apple, which I photographed and used as a reference for this full watercolour painting. The droplets really give it the wow factor, so let me show you just how I tackled them. Okay, let's go for it. So the first thing we do with water droplets is we need to draw them in. So I'm just going to draw out the kind of basics of this. There's loads of little details. I'm not going to necessarily draw them all in, but I want to get these main little water droplets in the right places. Doesn't matter for this whether they're absolutely perfectly in the right place, which is why I'm just going to freehand draw it. And try and get the shape about right. Another biggish one here. Another biggish one there, and one there, and that one there. There's a little one there. Okay, so what we've got to do is we've got to get the transition right between the top where we've got the apple curving away from us and it's reflective, and then the richer colours down here. So let's try and get that right first. Let's go with a really pale sort of greyish colour, but that's too blue. The Payne's grey that I just used on its own is too blue. Let's add to it a bit of Scarlet Lake and then water it right down. That looks decent. Just going to put that along the edge there. And this can serve as our highlight colour on these water droplets too. So I'm just going to pop it kind of over those. In fact, I guess what we could do is just pop it over and under everything. Why not? So there we have the lightest colour, and then this transitions down into a more orangey red colour, or browny red. So I've got Payne's grey and Scarlet Lake in there. A bit more Scarlet Lake. I just want a hint of that Payne's grey, and then I just want to bring into it a little bit of the burnt sienna. And we'll try that out in a dark area down here so I can get a gauge of how dark it is. And then I'm going to bring it up where I think is that dark, so kind of up here is fine. I'm just going around my pencil marking of the water droplet. And around this one, but I can also see kind of this sort of colour within it, so I'm going to pop this pretty much all the way within. It gets darker over here, and then I can go around. You can go all the way over that one. This one has a little fleck of highlight at the top, so I'll leave that. And painting up around here too. I'm using a zero brush, by the way. I just got upper, or I don't know if I was. I think I've been using a zero brush the whole time actually. It's such a detailed little area that we want loads of control. So really, the small brushes are the way to go. So we've got the start of it now. Within this one, we've got that highlight along the edge, which I want to leave. And then I'm going to apply this everywhere else though. And likewise, I can go over the whole of this one. There are some funny little white markings on the photo, which I'm not sure what they are. I don't know that they were even on the apple, I'm not clear. So I'm going to leave those, the couple here and a couple up here. So that one can have it all the way across. Now I want to start darkening up. I want to go into like the darkest tones. I've kind of isolated my highlights here. So let's mix up a darker mix of plenty of Scarlet Lake, a little bit of burnt sienna, tiny bit of the Payne's Grey, really tiny. Just don't want to overdo it with the Payne's Grey, so I'm just adding in the other two again. Now that looks better. Perhaps a bit more of the Scarlet Lake. We've got a kind of brighter colour that I can see particularly within the water droplets. I'm just using a watery to milky consistency. It's best to work really quite pale here because we've got subtle colour changes and we want to keep a good control. So trying to leave that little bit of highlight, but then darkening up around. There's a bit of darker colour here. And that maybe has got a bit too dark there. And then I'm going to use some more of the Payne's Grey in the mixture, but keeping it pale to sort of darken up around. And I feel like that actually is a bit too Payne's Greyish, so let's add in some more of the Scarlet Lake. It's always a challenge when you're working with such dark colours because a tiny bit can really make a big difference. So now just going to darken up around, but it's always just paying attention. So like on this one, the raindrop is really darker than the surrounding skin area. But that's not the case everywhere. And just looking at that transition into the lighter colour, so just slightly stippling that edge, and I can go in and smooth that down with some water shortly. Just working within that one. That's it. And then I'm going to go back to the lighter colour, so straight away I can see that this edge is too light, so I'm using that Payne's Grey and Scarlet Lake mix, but just to darken that up. And then I need to do quite a bit more darkening down here, and you'll see it's drying much darker, or no, much duller than the mixes on the palette, and that's the case with the Scarlet Lake in particular. So I'm just going to use this to do another layer now that that one's dried, going around, leaving the highlights to the edges of the little water droplets and working the edge. Don't want to go too dark. That felt like it was too dark, so I just lifted off a bit of paint there. And just blending that. And just use just some water to just blend that into that lighter colour. Generally want to make sure your brush doesn't have too much water on it, especially working in a sketchbook like this. The paper doesn't want to get too wet. I'm just using the mix here. Got a bit of the Payne's Grey and I'm just going to work on that sort of mid-tone area to the water droplet. It all feels to me like it's getting a bit wet on the paper, so I'm just going to let it dry off. So I just want to kind of brighten some of these colours in here. I'm going to use a bit of the translucent orange and just bring that slightly brighter colour in to the edges of these water droplets. And actually I'm going to go down to my smallest brush for a little bit more control here. So treble zero brush. And just brightening up a touch in some of the other areas too, on the skin. And then mix with some of the Payne's Grey, there's a sort of darker colour within a couple of these and around a couple of these. Just helps define them, but it is there. Back to a more vibrant colour. The whole of that one feels like it needs the mid-tones just, or lightest tones just darkening a bit. And again the mid-tones here just darkening a touch. I'm going to go over that highlight there. I'm just going to use the mix that's got some of the Payne's Grey in to add these darker details up at the top here. Just using the tip of the brush to sort of pick out some of those markings. It is quite helpful how I guess they're casting shadows, these little water droplets, but if you do make sure that you sort of darken up where you see darker areas around them, it really helps throw them forward. And these ones need a bit of extra work to them, just darkening up on the edge. Having to get a bit more of the Payne's Grey in the mixture. Just working on these bits here. Just want to make sure you're making subtle changes. I felt like that little bit I added there was too dark, so I'm just lifting that off slightly. Keep your mixes nice and pale, because these are difficult tonal judgments to make, and you're often just wanting to make a really subtle change. And I'll just make a couple of extra tonal adjustments, just darkening up little areas I can see that need darkening, and just trying to define those raindrops a little bit more. And that looks good enough for me. A set of video classes showing you how to paint the key areas of the full apple painting is available now in my online school, where members have been getting fantastic results with the full painting. If you've enjoyed this class, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and then hop on over to animasonart.com, where you can take a full-length video class for free and find masses of resources to help you pick up your brush and paint the way you've always wanted to. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you soon to help you create more watercolours with WOW!